Maryland woman says that she was discriminated against by a major airline and that it was because of her religious beliefs. It all happened on a Southwest flight that originated at Reagan National Airport earlier this week. As Suzanne Kennedy tells us, Muslim advocates say these incidents are part of a growing trend.
The incident happened on a Southwest flight from Chicago to Seattle on Wednesday. That's when Tacoma Park resident Hakima Abdullah says she was thrown off the flight after trying to switch seats with a willing passenger. Her husband says as a Muslim woman, she's not comfortable sitting between two men. And when a flight attendant got involved, the situation turned hostile.
She tried to sit it, but she said, no, you're not going to sit. You have to leave the airplane. And she said, why? No, you have to leave the airplane. Get out of the airplane.
Abdullah was eventually rebooked on a Seattle-bound flight that same day, but by then her husband says the damage was done.
It happened to my wife because she's Muslim, I'm sure that. Because she don't make any mistake. Always she asks, can I sit on the corner? Can you move at the middle? Nothing wrong with that.
The Council on American Islamic Relations says what happened to Abdullah is part of an alarming trend of Muslims being removed from U.S. flights without any reasonable explanation.
It really does create alarm amongst American Muslims, especially in terms of traveling, that we want to make sure that nobody's rights are violated.
We reached out to Southwest Airlines and they say their flight attendant followed proper procedure with respect to the customer's actions. As for CARE, they believe that the woman deserves a public apology, that her round-trip fare should be reimbursed, and that the flight attendant involved in the incident should undergo diversity training. At Reagan National Airport, Suzanne Kennedy, ABC 7 News.
Removed without reason, a Maryland Muslim woman says she was humiliated after getting kicked off her flight because of her religion. WJZ is live. George Solis has more on what happened and the growing fear it'll keep happening. George?
Well, the woman, Hakima Abdullah, who was wearing an Islamic headscarf at the time, says all she wanted to do was switch seats. Instead, she got the boot by a flight attendant. A furious Tacoma Park husband not mincing words this morning.
She was just humiliated because of her religion and the way she dressed.
Speaking out against Southwest Airlines because of its alleged treatment of his wife, a Muslim woman of Somalian descent. Hakima Abdullah was wearing a traditional Islamic headscarf or hijab on a connecting flight from Chicago to Seattle trying to change seats. She was kicked off the flight.
I was on the phone with her. I asked her, my wife don't speak English. Can you please talk to me and tell me why she cannot take the flight? They ignored me.
The Council on American Islamic Relations want answers.
Police asked Southwest Airlines attendant at the gate whether there was any reason why Ms. Abdullah should not be allowed to board the flight and continue with her trip to Seattle. The reply was no, that she does not feel comfortable.
Flight attendants are allowed to remove people off flights if they pose a threat to public safety. WJZ reached out to the airline for its side of the story. Southwest issued a statement that says in part, quote, our employees followed proper procedures. It goes on to say, quote, we are not in the business of removing passengers without reason. CARE says that's debatable across all airlines, especially when you look at all the complaints across the board. Just this year, CARE says they've received half a dozen. They fear more are never reported.
It really does create alarm amongst American Muslims.
WJZ learned Abdullah was eventually allowed to book a later flight. Now, the Council on American Islamic Relations is demanding a full investigation and a meeting with the airline. I'm George Solis. Now back to you.
George, thank you. CARE has also asked Southwest to undergo diversity training.